Hello, welcome to our assembly for today. It's Friday, and our assemblies this week have been all about peace and justice, and strong institutions. And that's been part of our act of remembrance, remembering those people who died in wars for us, those people who've given things up for us so that we can have the lovely lives that we have today. And in school this week, hopefully everybody's been thinking a little bit about how we can make Wincham a really peaceful place, not just within our school or not just within our class, but it might be on the playground, it might be outside of school. The sorts of things that you guys can do to make your local area a peaceful place. And it might be, we're just not going to fight with people. Great. But actually, the opposite of being cross, being angry, war, fighting, is being kind. So how can you be kind to people? How can you help the people who are around you, not just on your table, but on the street that you live or in the village where you live? What can you do to help other people? So we talked about that because it's about taking a positive step forward. Now, what I'm going to do today is I'm going to read you a book because we love reading, and reading is such a cool thing to do. And this is a picture book. It's a true story. It's a little bit sad in places, but it's okay. It's a true story, this one, and it's been written by Michael Foreman. Here we go. Who is a really good author. He's written loads of really good books. This is about a dog called Stubby. I'm just going to come out of this and go back to the library, and then it'll refresh the page and hopefully we'll see it all properly. Okie dokie. We got the whole page there. Okay, that'll do us. So this is about Stubby, a true story of friendship. And Stubby is the dog that you can see in the picture. It's hard, and this story takes place in World War I. And I'm reading it because we're talking about the future and we're talking about being peaceful and what we can do. But this is actually to help us understand what things were like in World War I. And now I know it's a picture book. And I know the pictures are kind of nice and it's all okay. But there were some horrific things that happened. And it's important that we try and understand if we can. So it's hard work being a soldier, marching every day, getting ready to go to war. But I'm told my country needs me. This war is far away, on the other side of the ocean, but soon we'll have to cross that ocean and help to win it. We're woken up early every morning by a toot 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 on a bugle for yet another day of marching and shooting practice. My favourite bugle call is the one that means, "Grub's up, come and get it." The smell of cooking seems to attract all the stray dogs from miles around. And one dog in particular seems to find me every time I settle down to my sausage and mash. He's an odd little dog with a flat face and short legs. I decide to call him Stubby. Now, Stubby follows me everywhere. The other soldiers laugh when they see him marching along beside us. I teach him to sit up and beg for his food and sit up and salute when he sees an officer. And the officers like him too. Stubby seems one of us now. I know I'll miss him when we go off to war. Well, that day has arrived. We march to the train station and begin to climb aboard. Stubby's marched with us, of course. He looks up into my eyes. I can't resist picking him up to hug him goodbye. And one of the officers smiles and gives me a wink. I pop Stubby into the carriage with the other men, and Stubby gives the officer a salute. At first, Stubby seems alarmed by the rattle of the train and the countryside whooshing past the windows, but we share our food with him and he begins to enjoy himself. The troop ship Minnesota is huge and towers over us as we begin to board. I wrap Stubby in a blanket and a group of us smuggle him onto the ship. When the Minnesota is well out to sea, I take Stubby out onto the deck. The sailors now think Stubby is the official mascot of our regiment, and I teach him to salute the ship's officers. Stubby loves standing right at the bow of the ship to feel the wind through his whiskers. After many days at sea, we see land on the distant horizon. I feel a mixture of relief and fear. Relief to see dry land at last, but fear because it's a land at war. Things are getting serious. We've changed our soft hats for steel helmets. Soon we're marching again through towns and villages, cheered on our way by the local people. Stubby always gets the loudest cheers, especially from the children, and he's never short of tasty tidbits. After 2 days of marching, we hear the thunder of distant guns. The villages here are deserted and in ruins. Now we're living in a world of mud, stuck in trenches for weeks, slowly moving forward, pushing the enemy back. Dogs can hear better than humans, so Stubby becomes a very good guard dog, warning us of approaching enemy soldiers. One night, he finds an enemy soldier spying on us, catches him by the seat of his trousers and won't let him go. Often, Stubby's amazing sense of smell warns us of poison gas attacks. We all put our gas masks on, and Stubby's too. He's become an important member of our company. At night, we try to sleep in muddy trenches. It's cold, and Stubby and I snuggle to get warm, but we can't sleep. All night long, the sky is lit up by thunderous gunfire. Let's take a moment to just have a think about that, and to think about how it would feel being there. Not knowing if the people in the trenches are enemy soldiers or not. Being scared that you're going to be shot. Knowing there might be a poison gas attack. And at night, sleeping in a trench, in a big hole in the ground in the open where it's muddy, with all of the banging of guns all the way around. At dawn, an officer blows a whistle, and we clamber out of the safety of our trench and charge towards the enemy guns. I tell Stubby to stay safe in the trench, but he follows me anyway. Bullets are zipping and whistling around us. I see some of our friends fall into the sea of mud. And the soldiers had to run out of the trenches as the whistles blew. And they had to run across the land towards the enemy. And the enemy could see them. So people were shot and died. But they had to do it. They had to be brave. A deafening bang and a flash knock me off my feet. The whole world seems to turn over. I see Stubby up in the air flying. He's off to heaven, I think. Then with a splud, he thuds back down into the thick mud. I crawl towards him. He's covered in mud and blood, his eyes full of pain, looking at me. I'm sorry, old friend. I'm sorry I brought you to this stupid war. I wrap him up in my jacket and carry him back to our trench. Army doctors take him gently from me and bandage him up, just like the other wounded soldiers. He's placed carefully into an ambulance with the other wounded and driven away. Will I ever see him again? We hear he's been very popular in the hospital, limping around between beds, saluting all the wounded soldiers. After 6 long weeks of terrible fighting, we're all cheered up by the return of Stubby. When we drive the enemy out of a nearby town, some of the local ladies make Stubby an army jacket, complete with badges and medals, with his name stitched into it. He looks so smart that even the officers salute him. At the 11th hour, on the 11th day of the 11th month, 1918, peace is declared. The war is over. Soldiers from both sides lay down their guns and climb out of the trenches. Winners or losers, we are all survivors. The enemy are young men like us, and we all just want to go home. This time we don't need to hide Stubby when we climb aboard the troop ship to cross the ocean. He's a hero. When we get back home, Stubby's given a position of honour at the front of the Great Victory Parade. Bands are playing and the streets are crowded with thousands of people waving flags and cheering. Peace is wonderful, but peace and quiet will be even better. I am so thankful this little stray dog found me. Now, this is the picture actually of the real Stubby. So in 1918, with the First World War underway, there was a stray dog who came into an army training session in Connecticut in USA looking for scraps of food. And Corporal Robert Conroy took it to him immediately, and the pair were absolutely inseparable. And on the front line, in the trenches, like we saw, Stubby performed heroic deeds. He'd bark warnings to the soldiers of incoming raids or gas attacks. He patrolled for rats. He'd helped find the wounded on the battlefield. And he was made his very own uniform after a town called Chateau Thierry was liberated, was freed. So the entire Yankee division declared Stubby as their mascot. And when President Wilson visited them in France on Christmas Day in 1918, President Wilson met Stubby and shook his paw. So after the war, Stubby returned to the USA with Conroy, leading the 102nd Regiment of the Yankee Division in the Boston Victory Parade. And Stubby even visited the White House twice, where he met 2 US presidents. So the White House is the building in Washington, D.C. in America, where the President of the United States lives. And he met President Harding and President Coolidge. And in 1926, finally, Stubby died peacefully of old age. Now, on the one hand, it's a nice story because we know that Stubby is okay and he was an amazing dog. He did all these amazing things. But on the other side of it is that this story shows us all those awful things that happened. And that's why we need the world to be a more peaceful place. And that's why if we can all play our tiny, tiny part, I'll play my small part like that, everybody else will play their small part, all of those small parts will add up and become something bigger. And together we will make our school and our town a peaceful place. And if everybody around the world does that, then we can all work together with our partnerships for the goals to get that peace, justice, and strong institutions. Have a lovely weekend, guys. See you soon.